Hey there, Board Game Brody here with Let's Table It, where we get games to the table. Like this one here, Darwin's Journey, Oceania, the highly anticipated expansion for Darwin's Journey. So let me first let you know that Darwin's Journeys has been my favorite game since it first came out. I've even been playing it more and more on Board Game Arena, like every day, all the time. So I'm excited to see what this expansion adds to that game. Let's not waste time. There is exploring, researching, correspondence, camping, delivering to the museum, and so much more to do, especially now with this expansion. So I'm going to assume you know the base game, and if you don't know it, then I'd figure it out before figuring out this expansion, because it really is going to add the basics to it before knowing this. So really, you will take the same rules that you know from the base game to then use for this game with the additions and changes that I will here explain now. First, there are 16 new specimens to discover, still 4 mammals, 4 fossils, 4 birds, and 4 flowers, but new ones for all 16. These specimens are placed out on the map for you to explore with the 4 different islands to explore. Yes, 4 of them. And your boat will navigate through them, also being able to discover new specimens going through it as well. This is just like the base game. These tokens are randomly placed out depending on the number of players playing in the game. But here, they are placed so that this hazard icon is shown on top. I will soon explain what that means. A hazard icon. Sounds scary. You will continue to research the specimens, taking them to the museum to collect money and move up on the research track for in-game points. 2 plus the number of completed rows in the museum times your book multiplier. The same thing. Let's take a closer look at the map. Everyone starts on the island on the right here, and in this expansion, things on the map go from right to left, including the 5 beagle scoring tiles. The expansion adds in 2 new tiles that will randomly come into play at times. I just placed them both out so that you can see them both, but sometimes they'll be in there and sometimes they won't. This one is 3 points for each hazard token that you have gained. This is done by moving your boat or your explorer past the hazard token that is shown. And this one is you gain 4 points for each explorer that you have placed out on the maps. So 4 islands, so the most would be 16 points. Since I have mentioned this new hazard thing a couple of times, let's just explain it all right now. This is the hazard track. Each player will place one of their spider tokens on this track to track their hazards for each round, and then it gets reset between rounds. Each time that a player encounters a hazard, they will move their marker up here once on this track. This is done when you are the first to discover a specimen on the board. You will move up on the hazard track and then flip over the token. Players who then discover the same specimen after the first player does, they do not encounter the hazard as it's gone, and they will find that specimen as well. In addition, when a player moves past a banner with a hazard token, they will encounter a hazard, and they will move up on the track as well, and they will take that hazard token off the board and place it next to their player board. These tokens can be used for the objective tile that I showed you already to gain points, or there might be some new personal objective tiles shuffled into the mix that come out, and I, of course, left these new ones out for you to see what they look like, but they're shuffled into the mix and randomly will come out. Here, you need a hazard token and be in front of the HMS Beagle. This one is have the seals shown here and a hazard token. Here is have 2 hazard tokens and 20 points, and here is have 4 hazard tokens total. There are others that will also come into play. Now back to the hazard track. You can never move past the 5th space on this track, and if you need to, due to encountering a hazard at that time, you will lose 5 points for each time you need to advance past it. Losing points is then tracked by the spider token on the point track. You will actually only subtract these negative points at the very end of the game from where your spider tracker ends up. Then there is this pink icon, which you can see throughout the game. First, here on the hazard track, this tent location has it. This spot on the island has it. This 10th spot has it as well as here on the island. Here it is on one of the new correspondence tiles. Oh, and while we are here, let me mention the other new correspondence tile, which is to gain 2 coins, and all other players must advance 1 step on the hazard track. And lastly, this last special action tile here has an antidote icon, and the antidote means moving back 1 space on the hazard track. And there is a new lens space where you can gain 1 antidote and 1 coin by placing your worker here. Why is this important? Well, at the end of the round before scoring the Beagle goal tile, you will resolve the current consequence tile above the hazard track. You can see 1 consequence tile present, and this one is for the first round, and it will change each round with a tile that was randomly placed out during setup. Now, during setup, you will randomly place out 1 C consequence tile, 2 B tiles here and here, and 2 A tiles here and here, each used for its corresponding round. Now, the A and B tiles have 2 parts. The left part of the A and B tiles show an item that each player must forfeit that number of times that they are on the hazard track. So that will be 0 to 5 times. If a player is unable to forfeit the item shown, then they will immediately lose 4 victory points for each item they cannot forfeit. And you have to forfeit an item if you have it. Again, you can never move your victory point marker backwards. Instead, you will move your spider marker up on the track, which will be subtracted at the very end of the game. The right side of the consequence tile shows a one-time reward that will be given to the player who is awarded that tile, which is done between rounds. Now, the player furthest on the hazard track gets that tile and can use the shown reward anytime during one of their turns. If a player ends the game with a consequence tile that they did not use, then it is worth 2 points for each one. The last consequence tile is the C tile, and it's all about losing points according to what's shown, like for each book that you are on the evolution track, or how many achieved personal objectives that you've achieved. I haven't played the game too many times to figure it out, the part of this, but theoretically, you can decide to not focus on whatever's listed here and do other things to get points, and then on the last round, try to do stuff to gain hazards, which won't affect how much, because you aren't high on, say the evolution track, or you didn't achieve many of your personal objectives or whatever that tile shows. But that's probably going to be hard to do because I like trying to get almost all my personal objectives filled, and I like, going far on that track to get points, but it's an idea to play with. The new hazard mechanic is the biggest new thing in this game. It will change how you play the game because you will try to limit your hazards, or you need to gain more antidotes to, help lower your hazard marker at times. Forfeiting the items can be hard to do, or you can strategically decide which rounds you might be able to do more on the hazard track than other rounds because you have more to give up, depending on what is shown on that tile and what you've done in the game. Anyways, let's get back to the board here. Okay, we know the specimen tokens and why they have this hazard icon on them now, and why, some get turned over after passing by them. But here we see that there is a special action tile on this island. And there is actually 2 places with these additional special actions shown. One on this first island and one when moving your boat all the way over to this area here. Now, when someone's ship or explorer stops on one of these 2 lens locations, they may use the unlock action, which is shown on the small discount tile, to immediately unlock that location, and only that location. The coin cost to do this is reduced by the amount shown on that small discount tile. You will perform the normal steps when unlocking a lens location by taking its action and placing your lens on it. You will then take the discount tile and place it face down over the wax seal requirements. Now, on future turns, this location can be used from players who have their explorer or their ship that have reached or passed the lens location by placing their worker to use its listed action here, which has no seal requirements on it any longer. Yes, this might become a popular place to go to. That's okay. After someone has gone to this location, there's no more immediate effects if another player lands on the same lens location spots with their explorer or with their boat because it's already unlocked. But it will give you access to some additional actions that you can take with your workers. As we continue moving from right to left, we see this area, which is the post office. Now, each player has an employee located here, and once a player's ship passes the banner here, the employee unlocks the new envelope location. Here, there is a stack of 5 different correspondence tiles that will change each round. Once passing the banner, you will move your employee to this location to have access to this new spot. Now you can find certain actions that might not have been accessible to you at the time, or something that you really need when you really need it. Along the same lines is the university. Now each player has one professor located here on the ocean track. Once unlocked by passing the banner, the player's professor will be moved to this location next to the top scroll row, which is new. Now when performing the academy action, you may take exactly one of the total seals from the top sections. There is no coin cost when taking a seal from the top section, and also no cost for placing it on your personal board. So we have a post office and a university now. The next new thing is the village campsites. There are 2 villages that act like campsites, except everyone can place a tent in this location, and these locations can never be reactivated through other actions. There is a silver village and a gold village. There are different tiles that are placed in these locations during setup, which will do different things on different games. This is maybe the most exciting new thing that you'll see. Well, at least for me, I thought it was fun to see. Let's see some of these things. So here with this one, all leftover crew cards that are normally discarded after you choose 3, there's 1 left over. They are placed near the board. And when you come here, you immediately perform all the actions on one of the cards without needing to meet the requirements. You will then flip that card over because it can't be used by any other player after you have used it. Here, you will gain 2 special large stamps. Now, when performing correspondence actions, you can use these in place of your regular stamps. Each one of these counts as 2 regular stamps when resolving majorities, and they also double any rewards you gain while using them. If placing both of these large stamps, they do not double the reward twice. When discarding stamps, you will remove any special stamps first, and each counts as 1 regular stamp when discarding. This one lets you gain 1 special coin, and you can use it now to ignore the coin cost or the penalty associated with an action that you're going to use it for at any time after you gain it. Now, the Golden Village tiles. Now, with this one, you gain victory points equal to the number of book multipliers that you have achieved on the evolution track. Here, you gain 2 points per specimen that you have researched. Here, you gain 3 points for each lens that you have placed out. Looks like it might be a good idea to, make whatever is here part of your strategy. Take a look at these before you start playing the game because you'll want to do them. The last thing on this map board here that looks to be new is this new campsite location. Here you deliver a specimen to the museum and you double the coins and the movement on the theory of evolution track from doing this. Cha-ching. With these changes during the cleanup phase, you will then, add some steps. Now, the new consequence tile from below the main board is switched to place out the new one for the new round in its designated space above the hazard track here. All hazard markers are then reset to 0, and the top correspondence tile from the stack of the new envelope space is removed to reveal the new one. And then final scoring adds in additional, points from the Golden Village tile for any unused consequence tile. You score 2 points for each of those. And then you will reduce your score from the number of points indicated by your spider marker if you gained any negative points throughout the game. And that's not all. The next thing that I feel like changes the game the most is the new personal boards. Now, let's start with the new slots from placing and fulfilling your personal goals or your objectives. Again, same rules for doing this, just new actions when you unlock, when you complete the objective. Starting with the top row or the silver objective row here. So if and when you lose a victory point for not being able to forfeit the number of items shown on the consequence tile, you lose one less victory point for each item you cannot forfeit here. So it will be -3 points for each one instead of the -4 points. Here you will gain 4 coins. Here you immediately take a wax seal from the rows available for you in the academy, and there is no coin penalty for taking or placing this seal. You can only take from the top row if you have unlocked your professor. Here, each time you perform the establish a campsite action, you pay 1 less coin to gain your tent or to place your tent in that location. Here you gain 1 antidote, which can help you lower your hazard marker by 1. On to the gold objective slots now. Here you unlock your 5th worker. This board was misprinted and it will still cost you 5 coins to place your tile here to unlock your new worker. In addition, this space here costs 3 coins to place on it, but it has a new action. Here you immediately perform all the crew actions of one of your unachieved crew cards, and then you will flip it over to indicate that it has been used. Here, each time you unlock a new lens location, you will pay 2 less coins. Here, when scoring Beagle goal tiles, you will gain 1 additional point for each time you meet its current objective shown on it. Lastly, here during final scoring, you gain 2 points for each specimen that you have researched. And then you have new actions when unloading your stamps and also sending off your tents. Here, for this pile of stamps, you receive an antidote, help you move back on that hazard track. This one is an academy action to take a seal. Obviously, if you unlock the university, this can be from the top row, and it can be free to get and to place. And this last stamp action is gaining 2 temporary knowledge tokens, which can be very handy. The tent action from the top to the bottom is explore action, placing 2 stamps, moving 3 with your ship, and the last action allows a player to recover one of their workers that has been previously placed out and then reassign them to any space on their player board to then use that worker again for an additional action. Some fun stuff here. So here's the deal. With the base game, a lot of people will try to, unlock the space where they don't have to pay the extra for, taking seals at the academy and then also getting a goal tile so that they pay less when another worker is in the same diary or same location. Of course, depending on the player count and the cost for the game of, changes things up a little bit. But there's always one that you want to try to unlock early. Well, those 2 abilities to unlock are no longer available, which means more expensive seals throughout the game because you're not going to be able to get the discount. And those other actions for adding seals, become more powerful. You want to get them. And then you will no longer get the discount when placing workers on the same area as someone else, which means that the first action you choose will need to be more thought out. The first player space will be even more sought after, and you will, need to save more money to do actions because you will, never get that discount to, pay less to take the action that someone else is already at. Now, when those other special action spaces open up and, you get past those locations to use them, that can help spread around some of the good and cheap actions so you don't have to pay more, but it'll feel like a struggle still without having those upgrades available to you any longer. So heads up. Now, you do have 4 islands, so if you get, your explorers out there, you potentially have more choices to make when moving your explorer from different islands. I think the blue navigation action becomes even more important in this expansion as you need to get to the post office and the university to unlock those benefits. But also you get those islands and it has, the first tent space on the water because there's no spot on the first island for a tent. The correspondence action also has changed with access to more actions and less competition, with a 4th slot being available for you to place your envelopes at. So really overall, what I see in the game is similar mechanics. The game will feel similar, But the chaining and the combo actionings are going to be so different now. You no longer have your favorite first move or your favorite objective to unlock or a certain color action you focus more on. 4 islands, there's a new post office and a university, 2 new villages, additional special actions to unlock and to use, a hazard track to avoid or even use at times, and as always, retracing the steps of Charles Darwin, captivating the untamed beauty and the unique life forms with breathtaking discoveries and facing challenges and setbacks that it'll test your resolve. Now, if you play this expansion like you do when you play the base game, then it will slap you in the face. Again, this is Brody with Let's Table It, where we get games to the table, like Darwin's Journey Oceania, the expansion to Darwin's Journey that's here on my shelf also, both by Thundergriff Games. Please like and subscribe to our channel. We are working hard to bring to you videos like this one so you know if these games are ones that you want to get to your own table.